So how's your Advent going? If you remember 4 weeks ago, we'd promised to do Advent a little different, and I'm sure for many of us, there have been certain changes, hopefully, in the way we've approached Advent. I know for me, sometimes I get deep into Advent, and all of a sudden I realize that, well, it's really not really any real difference from last year. But this year has been a little different. If you recall that first Sunday of Advent, we talked about doing Advent different, and we were asked to take up the Hallow Pray 25 challenge. And so I've been doing that every day, and it actually has been quite good. There's been some very interesting insights and other things that I've gotten from some of the meditations that they've done. But also, too, on the second week, we were asked to pray different, to be a little bit more discerning, and to really try to pierce into the mysteries that we celebrate, and to think more about what is going on, what we're really preparing for. Then, of course, last week, to do confession different, not focusing on the confessing of the sins as much as the outcome, the forgiveness. But this week, we come to a very special kind of turning point. With just a few days left until Christmas, there's that sense in the air. I'm sure you feel it as well. Things are different. Things are different around us. There's lights up everywhere. There's decorations. People are in a different kind of mood, sometimes a little grouchy, but that's beside the point. But people are like under pressure, and there's a lot of things going on. But there's also that air, too, about people that they're anticipating something wonderful. And so this fourth week, I'd like to emphasize that this year, let's try to do Christmas different on this fourth Sunday. We just heard that amazing encounter between the Blessed Mother and St. Elizabeth. I love that reading a lot. There's just so much about it that I could spend hours and hours just meditating upon that encounter. Think about that encounter for a second. How Elizabeth just all of a sudden is filled with the Holy Spirit and has this joy, this excitement at the coming of the Lord to her. So for this Christmas, there's a couple of things that I'd like us all to do different. The first thing that I would like us to try to do different this year is to recapture the sense of awe. When I was a kid, Christmas was special. There was something about Christmas that got me all worked up, quite probably getting presents. But there was something that got me all worked up, got me all excited, that I was always focused on. But over the years, I've tried to recapture that sense of awe, of all of the things that happened those many centuries ago in a little town, in a stable, where the Lord was born. But think of all the events that surrounded it. Think of all the different things that happened. The angel coming to Zechariah, the angel coming to the Blessed Mother, the angel appearing to shepherds, all of these miraculous events, all of these wonderful things that evoked awe in the people. It evoked this excitement in the people. And I think sometimes because, especially as they get a little older, Advent becomes that time of, oh yeah, been there, done that. And Christmas certainly is like, okay, here it is. We know what to do. I'd like to recapture that awe once again. Thinking about God becoming one of us, to save us, to give us hope, to bring peace into our world. A world that, let's face it, let's admit it, this world really could use a good dose of Christ's peace. The second thing I'd like to recapture this Christmas is the sense of hospitality. I think nowadays especially, hospitality has kind of changed in people's minds. I think about, sometimes I'm working with young couples who are preparing for marriage, and they'll almost always nowadays say, oh, we're going to have a big reception, but I'm just going to sit and relax the whole time. And I smile at them and say, no, you're not. They look at me and said, you're the one there receiving your guests. They came to be with you, to celebrate your marriage. You can't just sit back and relax. And they look at me and say, oh, no, I'm going to enjoy the meal, and I'm going to... No, you're going to go and greet your guests. Be hospitable to the people that have come to the party that you've prepared. Sometimes I think that's hard for them to acknowledge. And we see it a lot nowadays because so many people, they don't spend a lot of that time so much anymore preparing. They'll bring food in, or they'll have stuff so that they can relax and just be with their guests and all this other stuff. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go back to that old sense of hospitality where we have to all day long be preparing and doing, but receiving our guests in a different way. Of receiving, if you're hosting something this Christmas, of receiving people in a different way, being a little more hospitable and going out of your way to make them feel welcome, especially family and friends that maybe you haven't seen in a while. of having that opportunity to make them feel like, well, yeah, they're special. But then the other thing I'd like you to try to do and start to prepare in terms of being hospitable, in a couple of days, this church is going to be filled and someone might be sitting in the pew you normally get. Try to be nice to them. Try to be a little more hospitable to them. Try to maybe welcome them and show joy and let them know that you're happy that they're there. Don't be that old, grouchy Catholic, what are you doing in my seat? Show that hospitality, show that level of welcome, because let's face it, just like what happened between Mary and Elizabeth, that's such a powerful encounter between the two of them. Now, recall and remember that Mary just showed up. It's not like she could text Elizabeth, hey, Elizabeth, hit out in haste, I'll be there in a couple hours. No, it was a big surprise. She just showed up. And Elizabeth was hospitable. It's so wonderful to have you here, especially the mother of my Lord. Please come. And I'm sure for those 3-4 months, the two of them took care of each other very, very well. That there was this encounter and this exchange constantly between them of them assisting one another. That's the kind of hospitality sometimes I think we need to remind ourselves of, that we're here to receive the other and give ourselves to the other, much the way Mary and Elizabeth do in today's gospel. Those two things, I think, are extremely important. In that way, we can do Christmas different this year, starting to look a little bit more about what are our expectations. We have 2.5 weeks of Christmas. How are we going to do Christmas different? We are to be the agents of joy. So when you go forth from this building, are you the agent of joy for others? Are you the one bringing Christ's peace to the world? That can come through our sense of awe and our hospitality. One of the things that I think it's important that we do in these last days of Advent especially, I know you all love to pray your rosary. I pray my rosary every day, but I'm going to ask you to pray a second rosary every day, but pray the joyful mysteries of the Most Holy Rosary and meditate on those mysteries that we celebrate pretty much all during Christmas. The Epiphany, the baptism of the Lord. Meditate on those mysteries of how, yes, there's something special about the Christmas season that calls us to change, that calls us to be in awe, to look upon the manger scene and go, wow. So try to do that these next couple of days, just adding a couple of little things, of course, like praying an extra rosary each day. I think that would help us to prepare our hearts a little bit more. Today is the 4th Sunday of Advent. Today we light that 4th candle, which means that Christmas is very near. Don't let it overwhelm you these next few days. Rather, let your heart be stilled. Let your soul be rested. Let yourself enter into the mystery that we call Christmas by entering Christmas with that sense of awe, that sense of caring and love, that sense of peace, but most especially with that sense of true hospitality to welcome the other. God bless you.